Welcome back, everybody. This is Edwin the Magic Engineer, and I'm here to talk to you guys about an exciting change of events that just happened in the world of old school magic. And for any of you that are watching my channel and are not familiar with it, old school is not the same as vintage. That's when you're playing with just the older cards, not all cards, which is vintage, but just the older cards that were printed in 1993 and 1994. For the longest time now, several years, the old school format has had a pretty consistent banned and restricted list with very minor changes here and there. But a pretty big one, I think, actually just went down recently. The big change is Time Vault. Yeah, that's right. Time Vault. You can now, it's unrestricted. You can have up to 4 of them in the Atlantic and in the Swedish rules. In fact, let me show you guys a picture here. That this is the Facebook group, the New England Old School group, and Dave Firth Bard, who's one of the awesome people that volunteers his time to set up tournaments and help organize the format and rules and such. He posted a nice little table here that shows the breakdown of the different cards that are actually allowed and not allowed, and you can see that Time Vault here is now allowed in Atlantic and Sweden in 4 actual copies. Now I think that's actually pretty big news, because there's many times over the years that Time Vault has been considered to be like a member of the Power 9, officially the Power 10. When people discuss like what would be the 10th member of the Power 9 to make it a nice even 10, the 2 cards I hear most of the time that are thrown around were Library of Alexandria and Time Vault were the 2 that I always heard mentioned. Now everyone's always known that Time Vault's incredibly powerful, but its restriction, of course, is pretty difficult to get around because you got to skip a turn. Now, but then when the rules eventually changed years ago, and they went off of that time counter craziness, back over to like if the card is just untapped, you can just tap it again and take another turn. Suddenly, options started to open back up again, like as simple as throwing a twiddle at it or putting instill energy, or sorry, animate artifact on it to make it a creature, and then instill energy on it, so every turn it'll untap and you can just keep on taking turns. There's things that you can do. Or like in Vintage even, you can put like a voltaic key in with it, which of course is not legal for old school. But anyways, for old school format, this is actually pretty big. And more specifically, like many people are saying online, I think this is big for the prison decks, for the Stasis type decks. And there we go! That's what I do, right? Stasis is a fun deck for me, not the traditional type. I don't like the slow defensive one that makes every game take forever. I like the aggressive Stasis that tries to doesn't sit back and counter everything you do. It'll aggressively just put lock pieces on the table and just try to lock it all down. I think that one is fun to play, and I think that people are surprised at how much fun that one actually is to play against, because they always get in their mind the original style of Stasis that's definitely more counter-reactive. So you guys might know, if you've watched my channel for a while, I made those Turbo Stasis videos a while ago. And in fact, actually, I'm just going to link those right now. Now, those Turbo Stasis videos, I started with one version where it's very artifact heavy and it was aggressive. And I think I was blue-white at the beginning. Then I shifted to blue, and then I eventually shifted to blue-red. And I've had some versions that I've been playing, but I've been keeping it more secretive what my sideboard list is and everything is. But for this change, actually, I have already brewed up another version of Stasis, and I'll be doing a video on it very soon. I call it Temporal Stasis. And I really like that name because it's like temporal, because it's like you're manipulating time, right? Because you're controlling like when you get to take extra turns and when they don't get to take extra turns. And in the meantime, you can freeze the whole situation with Stasis. Like, it really works. I love that name. But anyways, I've got a version of it that I've built and I've been playtesting with. And I'll show you guys kind of where I'm started. So just like before, you can kind of see the development. So I think that'll be cool. But anyways, right now what I want to talk about is, since that card is unbanned, or unrestricted, I should say, the big question that a lot of people started asking is, what's going to happen in the secondary market? Is there going to be speculation? Is there going to be people just buying it out? And I've actually got some data for you guys around that. But before I go to the data that I've got, let me just first say that it makes a lot of sense that there would actually be people purchasing the card, because for anyone who previously wanted one, but like hadn't actually yet bought it, well, they're still in that situation, right? There isn't a decrease of demand. There's only a potential increase of demand, right? The people wanting to buy it has already been priced in. And the fact that you can only have one has already been priced in. What people haven't had is the ability to play multiple in a single deck. So many people who would have necessarily bought one and now they have the ability to buy more and actually put them in the same deck, well, they've got a whole additional reason to buy. So if nothing else, it's not going to go down. The price is either going to stay stable or it's going to go up. And that really depends on the secondary market, what the actual purchases are, right? So having said that, let's go to some actual data here and I'll show you guys what I've got. Okay, so what I did is I went to eBay and I did some data mining, right, on eBay. In fact, I'm going to show you here on Firefox what I actually did. Now, if you want to see how a card is actually buying or selling, you don't just put the card in and search. What you do is you come over here to advanced, click on that. And once you're in advanced, you put the card name in, and then you have to make sure to click sold listings, this little bullet guy right here. Now that's going to show you, because anyone can ask any price they want, and a million people can list something, but that doesn't mean anything unless it actually sells. So if you click search, what you can get is you can get the actual dates and the prices of cards that have sold recently. Now, the reason why I think that's important is if you look at when it seemed to be announced that it actually was unrestricted, it looks like Dave was telling the world around May 14th. Now, of course, some people, some insiders might have actually known, and there could have been buying beforehand. But for the moment, let's just consider that, May 14th is the starting day. So we go back and we look at the number of completed sales, and we go back all the way down to May 14th. Then you come all the way down to right there. But then you have to subtract some off. So even though you can see right here, this one and this one and this one and this one should all be valid, but they were like slightly before, right? So we're not going to count those. But starting on May 14th, now we're not going to count this because this was obviously not a time vault. That was a proxy. And this was some kind of proxy lot, right? So this is a real one to count, proxy lot. This is a collector's edition, which is legal for some formats. I'd call that valid. And proxy. So you don't count those. You count the ones that are either Alpha Beta Unlimited or CEIE is what I'm counting for this data mining, right? And if you count all of those up, what you actually get to is you get to this kind of table. And now, as you can see, I went and I did that data mine for the Power 9 cards. There's all the 5 Moxes, and then there's the Lotus, then there's the Walk, and the Twister, and the Ancestral. And if you go back and you look at all those other cards, what you effectively see is none of them have sales greater than 3 in the last 4 days. But Time Vault has had 13 sales. So Time Vault very clearly is in the lead when it comes to actual numbers of sales. Now, if I'll show you guys that so you can actually even just see. Like here's Moat, right? You put that in, you click MTG, and you click Advanced. Then you see this has sold listings here. We click Search. So that's a proxy. There's one reel. It's a different card, 2 reel, and that's it. So there's only 2 reels by the time you get down there. Or say you guys want to see an actual different one. This is the last one I'll do because I'm going to move back on to other points. I just want to show you that I actually did do this. Okay, so now we make sure that it is sold listings. It is. Here's Library of Alexandria. There's 1 real one, 2, 3, and that's a proxy, and that's 13th. So that's it. So there you go. I mean, it's very clearly got a larger number of actual sales. So is the actual, in financial world, they'll call that velocity. When actual buys and sells are actually happening and stuff is moving through the market, they say, what is the velocity, or what, and there's other terms. I'm not going to get too much into that. Point is, it's much higher. There's a lot of turnover. And in fact, you don't see that kind of actual velocity of sales until you actually start going much more down the stack to other cards that you can have 4 of that are actually at a much lower price point. Like if you look at like dual lands, there's a lot of revised dual lands that will change hands. Like some of them I saw 12, some of them I saw like 20, right? In that same amount of time frame. But you got to remember, there's like 300,000 dual lands that exist compared to the very limited number. There's only like, 20,000 Alpha Beta Unlimited time vaults. And then if you look at Collector's Edition and International Edition, you're looking at like another 5, then another 11. So you're looking at like a little over 30,000 compared to like 300,000 that actually exist, right? And so there's not very many of them out there. And so yeah, you got to go down to something like dual lands to see that kind of actual turnover. So is there actual buying happening? Yes, there actually is, for sure. And when that supply runs out, it's very likely actually going to lead to prices actually going up. Now, about me specifically, well, I'm going to be playing the card in my Stasis deck. So did I buy them? Yeah, I actually did. I bought 3 more, actually. So I've got a full play set. I bought one collector's edition and 2 more unlimited, and I already had 1 unlimited. And it's kind of funny. The 3 I bought were actually graded because I figured those ones, the price is going to go up more. It always does on high-end graded cards. And my hope is to eventually turn those into played ones and then take all that cash that I had to extract out of the bank and make my wife pissed. Sorry, hun. And then put that money back in the bank so I can just, because I'm not trying to profit. I just want to have cards, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And until then, I'm actually going to play proxies. So what you guys are going to see in this deck when I'm showing it is the actual proxies that are in it. So, I do think that the prices are in fact going to go up. Now, whether or not this has an impact on the actual game, well, time will tell, right? Everyone's concerned about it. But I know Dave Firth-Bard said there was a committee, and I know they spoke about it, and this has been in the works for a while. And this may turn out to be a big thing, and they might have to reban it. They may not. I know that this decision has definitely had a lot of people looking at it. And in my own testing myself, I can definitely see what they were thinking. Like, its biggest place to be abused is in like a prison deck with Stasis that would just really naturally abuse it. So this deck that I have here is the perfect kind of example for something to just abuse it quite a bit. And by the way, it does do a lot better with like multiple time vaults. So I'll show you guys that later. But it does actually help it. But does that take that deck from being like tier 1, tier 2 up to a solid tier 1, maybe 2 dominant? That's a good question, right? It's possible people might start packing more disenchants. But and things like that as a result of it. You kind of have to wait to see how the meta balances out, right? You can't just like make a change, see some big decks come in and then say, oh, it's too powerful. What you have to do, and this is Wizard of the Coast too, you have to let a new card come out. That card might trash the metagame for a while, but then the metagame shifts and everything figures out how to adjust for that card. And then maybe it all smooths out and all the numbers go back down and things appear normal. But it's just kind of like a new metagame, right? So you kind of have to allow time for that to actually happen. Now, that's the basics of the video. But I do want to go over one last thing because I know that the rules questions are going to come up. In fact, I already saw them once online. Actually, there's 2 more things I'm going to talk about. The rules, though, first. So Time Vault, it's an artifact that you tap to activate, and so the questions will come up if like 2 people each have a Time Vault and one guy taps his and the other guy in response taps his. What's the order of those extra turns coming up? And Time Walk effects are weird. I actually was confused myself as well, and then somebody corrected me on eBay. I think it was Lawrence Belanger. Anyways, so yeah, what actually happens is if one happens effect and then the other one happens, what typically happens is the second one, it actually resolves first. So this effect comes off the stack and resolves first, and then the first one comes off. It's weird, though, with actual Time Walk type effects. So one happens, the other goes in response. So this triggered effect or activated ability responds, and then this one responds. But for Time Walk, every single time one of them activates, it says you take the next turn. So when this first one resolved, it said this guy, oh, he's going to get the next turn. But then this guy resolved, and now it says he's going to get the next turn. So it's opposite to what it usually is because it's a Time Walk-like effect. And that same kind of thing could be seen as like if one guy casts Time Walk and then the other guy casts a card called Quicken, which lets a sorcery be cast as an instant, and then responds with a Time Walk. You'll see the same basic thing happen because Time Walk effects, they just say take the next turn. And it's based on that verbiage is how that actually works out. So as far as I can tell, for multiple Time Walk battling Time Vault kind of effects, it's kind of like, it's more like a shootout. You know, like you're like in a game of a duel, right? The first guy to like shoot is going to be the guy that actually gets to the next turn. But if it's played in one way, then one person will have 2 turns and then the next guy has 2 turns. If you played it in the opposite order, it'll just go free turn, and then normal turn, but it'll be going A and B like in succession, so it won't appear like anything, even though you both technically got extra turns. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, yeah, one more thing to actually go over. If you guys want to see this actually reflected in the actual rule sets, then let me pull back up this. So this is the one of the old school sites that discusses all the rules and such. And you can see the individual card sets being called out, and the restricted list is here. Now they actually show Time Vault on there, even though I think technically Bazaar of Moxen, I thought those guys do Swedish rules because they're talking about European, but I think they maybe just haven't updated their site. This is the Eternal Central, and they actually still have Time Vault listed as restricted as well because Eternal Central has not changed. Channel Fireball follows Eternal Central rules, so they also have Time Vault still listed. And here's where you actually see the pages that are updated. This old school MTG website, on their ban restricted list, you can actually see that Time Vault is now no longer on that list. And also here for Atlantic. In fact, they even gave you a table, and they're showing right here. So Atlantic and Swedish are both showing 4 copies. So, and I can post all these links into the actual video description below so you guys can check them out. And again, one more quick shout out. If you guys want to actually see another really great channel for watching old school games being played and some really cool commentary, there's Tim the Sorcerer who's out there, and he's doing some really great content. It's fun to watch his commentary with the videos being played. And he actually had a video where he was discussing all the different old school rule sets, but that video was made before this Time Vault change, so I don't remember if he mentions that it might happen or not, but that's a good one for getting your head wrapped around the different old school rulings. But yeah, definitely go check his channel out if you want to see some good actual games being played. So that's it for now, and I'll come back here again real soon, and I'll show you my actual temporal stasis deck. Bye guys.